I'm 24 years old and this is what's in my bank account. And no, I'm not broke. I just have a simple payday routine that moves my money around as soon as I get paid. And this exact system that I'm about to show you is the only reason why I'm able to save over 50% of my income and the reason why I was able to build a 6-figure net worth at the age 20. Make sure to stick to the end because I'm not just going to show you, I'm going to have a full tutorial on how you can do it yourself today. First, we have my home base, which is just my regular checkings account. And this is where most people go wrong and stop here. They get their paycheck, leave it in their checking, which is a money trap that most people fall into. Now, let me show you why just leaving your money into your checkings account is not a good idea. Inflation right now is around 3.4%. So for example, if you have $1,000 just sitting in your checkings account, earning 0.01% in interest, you're losing around $34 of purchasing power every single year. So you're not really doing nothing by leaving your checkings account, you're actually going backwards. And that's why I call my checkings account home base, because any money that comes in gets automatically, immediately transferred out into other accounts, my other bases, to make sure that my money is working hard for me. But I'm curious, how much money do you keep in your checkings account? I know for me, if that number goes below a certain threshold, I start to get a little nervous. So me personally, I try to keep around a couple hundred to a couple $1,000s into my checkings account at any given time, just really enough to cover my rents, utilities, and any bills that I know that I have to pay, like my credit card bills. But let me know in the comments, what's that number for you? But as soon as that money comes in, that's when my automations go to work. But before we dive into first base, here's the thing that nobody tells you about building wealth. It's not necessarily about being perfect with your money. It's about being consistent and having a good system. Let me tell you about the moment where it all clicked for me. When I was 18 and just starting my personal finance journey, I had this goal of saving half of every dollar that comes in my account. And so for months, that was my goal. Half of anything that comes in will go into my savings account. So for the first 3 weeks, I was super motivated. I was budgeting, I was writing everything down, I was transferring money from my account to my savings account. I thought I was well along my goal of saving 50% of my income for the entire year. But then life happened. I got hungry, so I wanted to do Uber Eats. I got insecure, so I started buying clothes. I started spending money here and there. And then inevitably, next thing I know, 6 months later, I didn't save a single penny after those first 3 weeks. So after reflecting and realizing what I just done, I went to research on how rich people actually manage their money. And I figured out that rich people aren't necessarily smarter than me or have better willpower. They just have the right systems in place to move their money around automatically so they don't have to think about or do any manual labor, and they know that their money is working hard for them no matter what. And that led me to building this system that I'm about to show you right now. The next automation takes money from home base to the first base, and this is where your money actually grows. First base is my high yield savings account. And when I say high yield, I mean that it's paying me a way higher interest rate than a regular traditional savings account. Traditional big banks like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America will pay you around an average of 0.42% on your savings. So then they take your hard-earned money, loan it out to other people, invest into stocks or bonds, and probably make around 8 to 10% return on themselves. And then to thank you for it, they'll give you around 0.42%, just to say thank you. That's just not fair. And that's why rich people put their money in a different account that gives them, as of right now, 3 to 4% in interest, way more than a traditional savings account. And this is called a high yield savings account. $10,000 in a traditional savings account will give you around $42 a year, which is not really even enough for a decent meal for two. But if you were to put that same $10,000 into a high yield savings account, at 4%, you're getting around $400 a year. That's the same money, same security, same risk, but a way higher return. The only downside with high yield savings account is that there's no real retail store you can go in and retrieve your money. It's all online, but that's not really that big of a deal, to be honest. I don't even use cash. But in this account, this is where I keep my emergency fund and also any other savings goal, like a down payment on a house or for vacations. And an emergency fund is mandatory if you really want to build wealth because it gives you this buffer between you and life. There's a study that shows that most Americans can't even afford an $1,000 emergency. So if you don't have this emergency fund, you're screwed. You're probably gonna have to take out loans, go into credit card debt, or you're just not gonna be able to cover that emergency. So that's why an emergency fund is so important, because it gives you this peace of mind where if anything happens, you'll be okay. And this is what most people get wrong with emergency fund. They think it has to be this huge, scary number, or they have to save, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not really true. An emergency fund is usually just 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses saved up. But don't worry if you don't have that number calculated or have an emergency fund set up. I have a tutorial later on in the video that will show you exactly how and how to set it up. But once you hit your emergency fund target number, I want you to stop saving there, because the second base in automation is where we start to play offense and start to build our wealth. And this is where it gets interesting. Second base is my retirement accounts, my Roth IRA and 401k, where I invest my money for the long term. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, Angelo, you're 24. Why are you saving for retirement? It's not in a gazillion years. But that's where you're wrong, and that's exactly why this works so well. Let me show you something that will change how you perceive time and retirement. If you invest $100 starting at 18 when you're legally allowed to, by 65, which is the average retirement age, you'll have around $500,000, which is amazing. But if you start at 25 years old, with the same amount of money, $100 a month at the same return, you'll have around $320,000. But if you start at 35 years old, 10 years later, you'll have only around $130,000. And this is because of compound interest, where the money you invest starts to make more money, and then that money starts to make you even more money. Just think of it as a big snowball. The earlier you invest, the more time you give your money to multiply and compound. That's why starting early is a game changer, and that's how you really build generational wealth and get ahead of everyone. Luckily, I figured this out in my late teens in college. My parents did teach me this, but I came across this book that showed me the exact math. Now, I'm terrible at math. I had to take stats twice. But as soon as I saw this paid, I immediately understood and opened up a Roth IRA to start investing. I started shoveling as much money as I could into the stock market. I automated and really forced myself to invest and prioritize investing. And fast forward now, my Roth IRA, just one of my investing accounts, is almost at $70,000. And if you don't know, a Roth IRA is an individual retirement account. Basically, you get to invest post-tax dollars, money that you've already paid taxes on, and any growth in that account is 100% tax-free. The IRS can't touch it. So for example, if you contribute $10,000 into your Roth IRA and then you buy stocks and it grows to $100,000, 100% $90,000 of those gains is 100% yours. No taxes. And of course, that sounds amazing, but the government knows that this account is super OP and they don't want everyone just to take advantage of it. So there are a little stipulations. You can withdraw without penalties until you're around 59 and a half. And there's also an income limit, meaning if you make too much money, I think it's around $150,000, you can't even contribute money. So if the government is limiting you on how much you can actually use the Roth IRA, I feel like that's a clear sign that you should be maxing out and taking advantage of it as much as possible. So if you don't have one, get one and max it out every single year as much as you can. I think around this year, it's around $7,000. And the best part is you can automate those investments. And that's what I did. And that was a game changer for me. And the next retirement account in second base is my 401k. And this is usually an employee sponsored plan, meaning you get it from your job. And unlike the Roth IRA, you invest pre-tax dollars. So it takes directly out of your paycheck. And this can lower your taxable income because it's taking directly out of your paycheck. But the bad news is that you're gonna have to pay taxes on it later on when you sell. But the good news is most companies will actually match your contributions up to a certain amount, which is basically free money. So do it if you can. Since I'm self-employed, I don't really get a match. I have what's called a solo 401k, so I guess I have to match it myself, which is not free money, but still good. But let's pause for a second. I need to show you something that most people completely mess up and it could cost them millions of dollars. A big mistake that people make is that they'll contribute to their Roth IRA, but then forget to actually invest the money inside of it. You don't just put money in there and it'll get automatically invested. It's not like a 401k where your employer will do it for you. You have to actually use that money that you put in the Roth IRA and go out and buy some stuff. So please make sure you're doing that. I know a lot of people have made that mistake and they'll just put money in the Roth IRA and think that, they're gonna make millions of dollars, but it's actually doing nothing. Please don't make that mistake because it's literally millions of dollars of loss over time. All right, here's where the magic really happens. Third base is my regular taxable brokerage account. This is for the money that I have left over after I max out all my retirement accounts. And this is where I put around 34% of my income, or at least I try to, in every single month. Now I know that may sound like a lot, but here's what I learned. And a piece of advice that really helped me when I was younger, prioritize investing. You can either live like no one else and struggle now, so you can live like no one else later, or you can live like everyone else now and struggle like everyone else later on. It's a little cringy, I'll admit, but that piece of advice actually really helped me because while I watched all my friends, buy new cars, go to new apartments, buy new clothes, I was budgeting and prioritizing my investments. And now that I'm at 24, I can do all the things that I've always wanted. I can travel, I can afford that new car even though I don't want to, but really choosing to live frugally and invest early on really set me up for success in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now, there's no special tax advantages in this regular account, unlike the Roth IRA or 401k. It's just another step to make your money work hard for you. And in this investment account, I'm not really trying to be the next Warren Buffett. I'm not too big on picking stocks and timing the market. I have one account where it's literally just index fund ETFs, and that's around 70 to 75% of my income. And then I do have another high risk, high reward portfolio where I am trying to, pick individual stocks, but I'm really not too deep into it. It's kind of just more for fun. I personally love using my money to invest. A lot of people look at it as an expense, but I don't really. I just think of it as putting my money to work. The beautiful thing is the stock market has averaged around 8 to 10% of return over the past 100 years. Sure, there are times where it went down. There were crashes, 2008. 2020, the pandemic, and literally in April this year. But every single time the market has crashed, went down, some crazy thing happened, it always comes back strong. And that's why, despite the pandemic, despite all the wars that's going on, I'm gonna continue to be a consistent investor and net buyer of assets. And just from talking with other multimillionaires who have invested for 10, 20 years, 30 plus years, they taught me that the people who get rich weren't the ones who played it safe and avoided the crashes and were investing. It was the people who saw that as an opportunity and kept buying during the crashes. Warren Buffett once said, when others are greedy, be fearful. But when others are fearful, be greedy. And that's what I did during 2020 when the pandemic happened, April when the whole tariff crash happened. I was putting thousands of dollars into the stock market, and look at it now. I have almost over $100,000 in investment gains. And so when everyone else is panicking selling their stocks, you're buying these assets at a discount. But if you're a beginner, you don't know what to invest in, or you just want to see what I'm investing in, I'll put a link in my bio to this free app that I'm using. It's called Blossom. This is just where I link all of my portfolios. And this is not sponsored. This is just how I'm able to kind of show transparency and show you guys what I'm investing in real time. So if you want to see all of my investments, check it out down below. Now, here's the thing that separates this system from every other budgeting method that you've probably tried. This removes your ability to make a bad decision, get lazy, or just forget. And that's because it's completely automated. When I first set the system up, I was automating 50% into my savings and investment account. Everyone thought I was crazy. 50%? How are you gonna live on just 50% of your income? Don't you forget taxes? How are you gonna buy things? How are you gonna enjoy your life? But that's kind of exactly the point. It forced me to find ways to live on less, be grateful with what I have, and get creative with how I make my money. I started budgeting, I started learning about personal finance, and started random side hustles to earn more money, which ended up becoming, my business right now, where I'm able to travel the world and do what I love for work. And this is all because my savings and investings left my account no matter what. It was basically like a bill, like paying rent. Non-negotiable. And this is so important because this is what most people don't understand about money. It's not about how much you actually make, it's how much you keep. I know people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, $200,000, and are still broke just because of anything that comes in goes right out. They have no systems in place to make sure that they're actually saving and investing for the future. And that's exactly how I know people who are making 50K, 60K a year, but they're actually building serious wealth and are way above, way ahead financially, people who are making 6 figures above. They know how to manage and save their money. The wealthy don't rely on willpower and motivation to build their wealth. They just build the systems that work hard for them, even when they don't feel like it, even when they're asleep, even when they're on vacation. Their systems are running in place and making sure that the money that they worked hard for is working hard for them. And that's why I automate everything. So I never forget, never get lazy, and never prioritize my future. And just to give you a little more background around me, there's another video that you can watch where I give you my exact story of how I started. But around 18, I was a regular college student. I was pretty broke, just had a couple $100s to my name. I was literally working 3 minimum wage jobs because I thought that's how it's gonna build wealth, just working harder. But it was that year where I started my investing and personal finance journey and figuring out how to actually make my money work for me and how I can build, more leverage and, build my wealth. Around age 19, I was doing a little better. I was saving, investing, but I was still, that degenerate college student. I did have my side hustles, they were kind of taking off, but I really wasn't going anywhere yet. It wasn't until age 20 when my business really started to take off and I really started to click on the importance of investing. That's when I built my first emergency fund where I started investing, and sooner or later my net worth hit $100,000 because of those automations and investments. And from age 21 to 24 now, nothing really changed. I did the exact same things. I tried to increase my income with my business, side hustles, and I invested as much money as I could. And fast forward to now, I have almost over $500,000 in investments. I'm able to save 50 to 60% of my income, and my business makes multiple 6 figures in profit every single year doing what I love. Now, I'm not sharing this to brag and be like, oh, look at me, guys. I'm sharing this because 5 years ago, I was the one who's Googling how to save money, how to make money online, how to invest. I was in your shoes, and I was really just getting the same generic basic advice that everyone was getting. Make a budget, stop drinking coffee, use coupons, and that's not really what changed my life. It was the systems, the lifestyle changes that really shifted everything. And that's what I really want you to get out of this video, because everything, all the systems just run on autopilot, and saving and investing for my wealth just became part of my lifestyle. I literally only spend 20 minutes a month just checking, making sure everything's doing well. Compare that to people who are constantly stressed about money, constantly budgeting, constantly writing everything down, checking their accounts obsessively, and manually moving their money around. This exact system gives you what money can't buy: and that's peace of mind. And this is exactly how you can set this up. All right, enough theory. Let's get you set up right now. Phase one, we have the foundation. First, you do want a budget. You need to know what goes in and what comes out. You're never gonna fix anything if you don't diagnose and kind of understand the lay of the land first. So just take a piece of paper out, look at your bank statement, your credit card bills, and write down whatever comes in and then comes out, and see what the surplus or maybe deficit is. Are you saving money? Are you going to negatives every month? This is very important to know. You need to know what your savings rate is. Maybe it's not where you want it to be. Maybe it's in the negatives. The goal is just to increase it over time. But right now, I don't want you to judge yourself. The goal right now is just to know what's happening, and then slowly we can work on to increasing it over time. Step two, let's figure out how much you need for emergency fund. This is for first base, where you want to put your money in savings into that high yield savings account. Get the number you just made with your monthly expenses and multiply it by 3. That's the bare minimum that you need to save for emergency fund. And if you want to be extra careful, multiply it by 6, and that's the max you need to save within your emergency fund. Next, you need somewhere to put your emergency fund, and as I mentioned, you need to put it into a high yield savings account. So if you don't have one yet, open it up. It's super easy. It's free. It takes a couple minutes. Don't overthink this too much. I'll link all my recommendations down below, but just choose one. The best one is just whichever that you actually open up. Now we're getting into phase 2, and this is where you actually automate everything. Within your high yield savings account, you can automate transfers from your bank account to this account. You really just want to start with a bare minimum of 10% of your monthly income. If you can't do that, just do $5, $10, anything that you can do, and work your way up. Here's an example of what it should look like. And once you have that set up, the goal is to increase the contributions over time once you're comfortable. But again, once you hit that emergency fund target, either 3 months or 6 months, stop saving that account and switch your focus on automations into your retirement investing account. Your 401k you'll get through your employer, so you're probably already investing into that. But if you don't have a Roth IRA, do it right now. You can sign up for free with any brokerage, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. Just choose one. I personally use Vanguard. The max this year is $7,000. So if that's a lot to do it all in one go, just do it month by month. But the goal is to max it out every single year. Here again is my Roth IRA and what I'm investing in. Again, this is, over 5 years of investments, but just take it slowly, make sure to match it out, and always remember to invest once you contribute that money in. You still need to pick stocks. And for taxable brokerage, I use Webull. Any will do. Here's an example of what it looks like to automate investments. It's really easy to do, especially with this brokerage. And just like with everything else, the goal is to just get that automation started. You can start with $5, $10, and just move your way up there. The goal right now is to just have these automations set up. You can always increase it later on. I always love the saying, keep it simple, stupid. So let me just reiterate everything in super simple terms. Home base is your checking account. From your checking account, you want to automate money that goes into your high yield savings account. And this is where you keep your emergency fund. Once you complete your emergency fund, you have automations that takes your money and goes into your retirement accounts. Once you max that out, the rest of your money goes into your brokerage account, your regular taxable brokerage account, and this is where you further can build your wealth. The goal with your high yield savings account and emergency fund is just to give you that peace of mind in case anything happens. And the goal with the retirement accounts and taxable brokerage account is to make sure that your money is working hard for you, so you can retire in one day and you don't have to be working 9 to 5 the rest of your life. The most important thing that you need to do is just start today, right now, even with just $10. A year from now, I swear, you're gonna wish that you started today if you keep on waiting. And again, I'm not sharing this to brag and to kind of stress you out. I'm sharing this because nobody taught me this growing up. I had to learn everything the hard way. My parents did teach me this, school did teach me this. I had to learn all this through trial and error and making so many failures. So, I'm just trying to be the mentor that I wish I had. And look, honestly, I could sit here for hours giving you 47 more strategies on how to build wealth. Things that I learned from experience, but also just networking and talking to other multimillionaires. But again, that's not what's gonna change your life. What's gonna change your life right now is just making the decision to start today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. And if you want me to dive deeper in any specific part of this system or anything of this video, please just comment down below. I read every single one of your comments. I love reading it. Seriously, it makes my day. And again, I hope you enjoyed. Till next time. Bye.